Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at player props here for Friday in the NBA. Few back-to-backs, got some guys still on the injury report, but we do feel good about a few of these plays that we've got value for early on Friday morning for you guys. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Definitely want to check out the Best Bets episode that we have up alongside this one, bringing both of those to you each and every week through the rest of this season. Nice little 3-1 in the play props here on Thursday, Nate. Let's keep it going and jump into your first bet here for Friday night.
Yeah, give me our old friend Domantas Sabonis. I think first appearance of the year here on player props, but
sounds right.
I like the spot with everybody on him back-to-back on both sides of this, right? The Kings at Spurs, and we know Wemby's not going to be out there, so that certainly helps open things up in the paint. I don't think it's really mattered for Sabonis, though. His last 8 versus the Spurs, 26 and 13. So the prop I'm taking is 32.5 points and rebounds, leaving the assists out against the Spurs team that's been good limiting those dimes. But he's been scoring a lot more with Malik Monk in there, and I'll get to that in a minute. But like this matchup against the Spurs, last season he averaged 26.7 and 14 boards on a 144 rating. That's the highest against any Western Conference team and second highest against any team for Domas last year. So he definitely enjoys, banging with this softer front court when it's Wemby or with Zach Collins, who just frankly just doesn't have the skill to deal with him on his own. His last 9 overall, Domas, 21 points, 12.3 rebounds. Kind of like the points more here, as I mentioned, with the scoring, which is up with Malik Monk in there. But he is a guy who can get you 16 boards and still give you an out, I think. If he falls, if he has like 18 points, 16 boards, we're still getting over. So in these last 9, he's averaged 33 combined, 33.5. And 2 of the unders I can identify clearly. I mean, a back-to-back set where there was a loss against Brooklyn without Monk, then Monk's return against OKC where he's limited, and then an under in Memphis that last night, because they held the Kings under 40% shooting, just a really solid defensive performance. Spoiled your bet there, but I digress. I mean, 3 more points per game when Malik Monk is in there for Sabonis, and that makes sense to me in the sense that he's a pick and roll partner, right? And Monk is actually facilitating as much or more than Fox since coming back. They're like, thank God we have more playmakers. They're playing a lot through him. And so, Sabonis can just do that screen and dive and get his buckets that way. So that makes sense that he's averaging 21.5 when he's in there. We're now looking at a Spurs team that allows the second most points per game to centers because they've been missing Wemby in part, and just because he has trouble with some of these physical guys, they allow 24 a game to them. And the Spurs on a back-to-back, they allow 6 more rebounds per game because they shoot 42% from the floor. So, I mean, plenty of opportunities for maybe the best rebounder in the game. And he has not been too affected by back-to-backs. Domas played 82 last year, so plenty of back-to-backs. This year, he's 22 points, 13.3 rebounds. His usage rate is actually up to 23.5% when the Kings are on a back-to-back.
Yeah, I can see all that for sure in this one. Memphis is legit. I definitely have the faith in them, but I still thought Zach was going to come through a little bit more last night, and at the end of the game, that's the thing that scares you is the clutch stuff with them. But Domas, this is a little bit low. I would agree. I think the scoring is what you look at to your point as well, and maybe the assists not as much. Monk seems to be eating into people's assists a bit more, including De'Aaron Fox. So that's going to be more of the points and a little bit more ISO pace and space, I think, is what Sack is going to continue to try to increase with Monk in the starting lineup instead of Keon Ellis. That's kind of what you're getting at. And so the little few extra rebounds, few extra possessions, all that definitely helps Domas as well. But let me go over to PG. Like I just come on, 17.5 points. I think this should be close to 19.5, 20.5 points for him at this point. I know he just went off against a very bad Charlotte team. I don't want to put too much stock into scoring 29 points against a Charlotte team. I want to put stock into the minutes, though. I want to put stock into the fact that he just played and then sat, right? 37 minutes for Charlotte, knowing he was going to sit the first of this sort of back-to-back, or at least whatever you want to go, home and home. I forgot what we're calling these, home, whatever we're calling them here, where you just play 2 in a row against the same team. They knew they were doing that, so they sat him out for the first one, Orlando, and then they bring him out, give him the 4 days rest. He's good to go. So if they're going to play him 35 plus minutes after resting him like this, the way they did against Charlotte when he rested for like 4 days after the Detroit game, then like, what are we doing here? Like this is still the same dude. This is a career 23 point per game dude over the course of the last 10 seasons, right? And I mean, even in his career, if you include all the duds at the first 2 seasons where he wasn't that involved in Indy, he still averaged in his career 21 points per game. So this is just like a mispriced line based on people not thinking like, well, I don't know if he's going to play too much. I don't know what his minutes are going to be. He hasn't looked that good this season. I agree. And they're still working him back in, but they're not working him back in by giving him restricted minutes or usage. They're working him back in by not playing him every other game, essentially, or every other, 2 in a row and then sit, that kind of thing. So if you look at the way that you score against Orlando, I'm actually a little bit surprised they even wanted to sit him the first game of this series. But like I said, they're prioritizing he's going to sit and get rest no matter what. But this is the type of team that you need Paul George against, because this team does not give up assists for Orlando. You don't get really good ball movement. They don't help off of their guys. So you're not going to have shooters who are moving around open for spot ups. PG is not necessarily going to be able to find guys as easily with the dimes here. So like, while I did like the rebounds and assists for him, I'm going back to the points now against Orlando where, you need to score off one-on-one playmaking and driving. That's and pull-ups. That's how you score against Orlando's defense. Maxi's going to get the Jalen Suggs treatment, who is first team all D right now. I know guards aren't really allowed to be on the all defensive first team, but I think Jalen Suggs needs to get it at this point, now that we don't have the positions for the awards. But either way, he's on Maxi. That leaves Paul George probably looking at, I guess at this point, I mean, not Tristan da Silva. They don't have the same weapons after him. I'm trying to figure, I guess KCP will probably be on him. Still has about 4 or 5 inches on well, let's give him 3 inches on KCP. I'm not worried about him shooting and pulling up over people is the main thing here. So he's scoring 50% of his points either off of the ball handler in the pick and roll play or in ISOs. And that's what I'm saying here. The Magic give up the second highest frequency of pull-up shots and pull-up threes. You do not get catch and shoot stuff off of them. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very big Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. And when McCain's in their game, I just don't think we're going to see a lot of assists from any of those players.
Yeah, but maybe they'll be able to kick out those 2 guards, Maxey and McCain, because this is the double revenge spot, right? They just played on Wednesday without PG, and those guys both had pretty good games. So as good as Suggs is in individual coverage on Maxey, like I think Maxey's going to have to kick it out more often than not, and that is the only weakness in this Magic defense, right? Is if you can generate a good look from 3. And Paul George being one of the best wing shooters out there. So yeah, I like that as one of the few ways you can get an over in this game. That just seems like it will once again be hovering right around 200, as indicated by the total. But let me take Tatum over 13.5 rebounds plus assists, minus 115 at MGM, which once again gives you the better price, the less juice. It's minus 130 at DK, indicates nearly a 58% probability that he's going to get this. I expect, because it's this front end of a back-to-back, either Porzingis or Horford to sit. But actually, with Porzingis in there, Tatum is better on the boards. It's something you identify with Brook Lopez and the Bucks, right? A lot is like these lanky centers. Sometimes they're just asked to clear out, and then we want the power forward to grab it and go. So he's actually, since February of last year, averaged a full more rebound per game when the Zinger is in there. His usage rate has dipped 3%, so he's concentrating more on playmaking. In a small sample this year, 10.3 rebounds per game in 3 with Zinger. Only 4.3 assists, but 11 potential assists. And he has a really high adjusted rebound chance rate, highest on the team by far. There's room for the potential positive regression here with the assists in general. Like he leads the team 12.7 potentials at home, only getting 5.8 dimes on these. And it's not like this is like the Washington Wizards offense where it's like, all right, well, his teammates got to hit shot. Like these are the Celtics. They're going to hit a lot of these kickouts that he's demonstrating. Like he is really turned up as a playmaker, because I mean, in 4 against the Bucks last year, only 9.3 potentials, 12.5 potentials in 2 so far against the Bucks, as he continues to show that better playmaking ability. 10 rebounds per game in those 2 and on 15.5 chances. So I mean, to see plus 180 for him to do that again at some books, that's definitely intriguing. But all we need is him to be at his averages here in the last 8 at home, 8.8 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists per game. 4 of those have been blowouts, and he's gone 2-2 against the number in complete blowouts. And we both expect the Bucks to be in this game, expect the Celtics to be fired up to match up with Giannis and them. So I think Tatum gets his full slate of minutes and fills the stat sheet.
Yeah, I like this look for Tatum. We mentioned the motivation for Jaylen Brown to just sort of punch this team in the mouth as well, and get his tonight. His points prop is so high. So yeah, I think that that Tatum to do the other stuff is probably the better look here for sure. I'm going to go back to that Boston game as well and talk about Giannis. I'm taking the assist. It's something I've been waiting to eye. I was kind of hoping they would come out at 4.5, but I think the books are pretty hyper aware, and he has been diming up a bit more this season. I'm not really scared that Chris Middleton's back in here. I love that actually for the Giannis assist. You want one more spot up shooter for Giannis because we know what's going to happen. We know that the Celtics are going to form a wall of sorts. They're going to have KP essentially playing free safety, and if he needs to step up, he will. But for the most part, everybody's going to collapse in onto Giannis, and they're not going to be afraid of that three-point shooting, which has been pretty weak on the wings for this team and in the corner, which is something that they were a lot better at last season. And right now, it's a lot of Dame up top or Giannis. And actually, Giannis has, I believe, the most points per game off of the mid-range. I will point that out. But I don't think that's going to be available in this game for the Celtics, who, as soon as you take a step inside the three-point line, are trying to eat you alive. So really what this comes down to, too, is like it's not necessarily even a hit rate thing, although he has had good success with the dimes versus this team. He's going over now in about 60% of the games that he plays for this team, but it's even money for the 6 dimes, something he's done in the 1 out of the 2 games this season, had 5 in the other one. If you wanted to, 5 is the sweet spot. If you wanted to do an alt line parlay of some kind and take Giannis 5+ assists, maybe you take that with the Boston money line, some negative correlation in that bet. Now I'm really talking myself into that even more. But I do like the idea that the Celtics win this game and that Giannis is still able to get 5 to 6 assists. The 6 is where you either drink the juice for 5 or take the 6 is really where you're at. You have to kind of make that decision for yourself. I usually like scaling back the units if I have a plus money bet and just playing that for slightly fewer. But I'm down for a full unit on this one. The Celtics, you're not going to find anything being like, oh, the Celtics don't give up assists, or give up a ton of assists. There's nothing that's going to be like, here's where they're really porous on defense, other than if it's a kick out to the catch and shoot. That's really going to be it off of the drive. And this is the only player that does that, because the Celtics are looking to stop that against every player except for Giannis in terms of the spot up, right? They don't help off. They don't double except on Giannis. That's it. That's really it. They don't even double Jokic, right? It's really just Giannis. And so that's why I think he's got one of the higher assist percentages of these players. And if you look at like power forwards, whatever you want to call Giannis, that would be the position that is most likely to get those dimes against this Celtics squad. The power forward position is actually one of the more likely positions to have any kind of success against the Celtics, the way that they sort of pack things in all the way into the paint and then also out on the 3-point line. If you're anything inside of that in the mid-range and then in, like Giannis will be driving, you're going to have a little bit more success. But yeah, he's going to be forced to kick that thing out a little bit more with Middleton back, with AJ Green going 2 for 11 last game. Gotta believe the positive regression's coming there to help Giannis with a few of those dimes as well. So
yeah, Gary Trent too. If you mentioned corner threes, like that correlation. Here's a good negative correlation parlay when you talk about over 4.5 for Giannis, under 7.5 for Dame. Move it up 1. Yeah. Dame is minus 130 to go under 6.5 dimes against the Celtics defense that has given him lots of problems. That obviously limits assists and fewest points to point guards right now. So it's hard to imagine him like beating Drew and D White consistently off the dribble to get shooting opportunities for teammates. Whereas Giannis, he always draws doubles. I think he'll have a much better time getting those assists and Dame should go under.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I'm with that. And I like that Dame look too. That's what I was looking at as well. I was actually trying to see if that was still a viable number. And I can see that. I was looking at potentially like a Dame, like 20 plus points with the under on the dimes as well. But I like where your head's at to fade the assist for Lillard. And that is all the time we have for you in Play Up Props. So go ahead and make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets. Also got NFL Play Up Props here as we do each and every week. So make sure to subscribe and check everything out we're bringing you on the channel. And until we see you next, happy betting. Step it up.